And we're back. We are back. And don't adjust your computer screens or your whatever if you're looking at the dates of these videos. Yes, they're both back to back. And sorry about the way that last video ended. We are dealing with some technical difficulties. Joe is going through a computer transition right now, so he's back on the phone as we started. We're rewinding back in time to the Walking Dead days, and we're on Joe's on his cell phone, dealing with the connection as we're going to talk about this episode. And last episode, if you watched the last episode of 24 recap, post-episode issues, this is for hours 9 to 10. If you watched last week ended a little weird because I started to talk about this episode, and then I disconnected to get Joe back on the call. So let's get right into it, right into talking about it. It's 9 p.m. in London, and President Heller gets an update of the potential of the device that's going to destruct. He's told about what happened on the ship, and he takes a look at the satellite. And he also, they're not sure what happened, and Kate and Jack are still in their shootout with the Russians. They run to the building for cover, and Kate asks if these are Adrian's associates. But Jack doesn't think so, because Jack doesn't think that Adrian's disorganized to be working with the Russians and stuff like that. And
it was a little strange to me that he would think that. Like, he doesn't have to be that organized. All he has to do is have the cash to pay for someone who is that organized.
I hear you, but I think Jack, in this world, I think what we've gone through before is to realize that Jack ultimately is not wrong ever, if he knows everything about everything. So he knows that Cross is kind of a potser.
Okay, sure.
I think he just looks at him as like he's a used car bullshit artist. Kind of like a low form of life, almost the way that Robert De Niro in Casino looks at. Sorry, I can hear myself a little bit. Looks at James Woods' character and as just like kind of like a shit bum criminal. Like, you're just a shit bum criminal type person.
Yeah, I guess.
So we also see the tech telling Chen that the Americans are checking out what happened to the boat. Chloe asks why he attacked her own country. Chang says, China's not my country. They abandoned me, so I'm abandoning them. Now, the tech shows him about...
I'm a scorned little brat.
Yeah, I'm a brat. And not a Benjamin brat. The tech shows him about the shootout a couple blocks away, and Chang asks how they found him. Chloe and Adrian Cross aren't... could you turn me down a little bit?
Yeah.
Sorry. Chloe and Adrian don't have tracking devices, so how the hell could they find them? Thank you, that's much better. How the hell could they find them? And they checked it, and Chen says it's time to go, and they bring Chloe with them because what's inside Chloe's head is valuable to them.
Yeah, but didn't they, like you said, they mirrored the screen, they saw what she did to break in. How much more value is she? You have the device, you know how to blow up a thingy. I don't know.
Shoot her in the head.
She's more of a danger than she is asset at this point.
I was saying that at the beginning of the when I was talking about this last time. Exactly. She ultimately, I think they're only keeping her alive because the plot needs to keep her alive. It seemed like they're only keeping her alive because, we need to keep Chloe O'Brien alive because we need to have, in the last episode, Chloe be on Jack's headset as he does whatever he's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, we need a headset person, and that guy that's at the computer isn't going to cut it.
No, he's too laid back.
Yeah.
So the shootout goes on.
He's like, I don't know if I can do this. You got to give me time. No.
No, shut up, Jordy. Get Scotty in there.
Get some eye makeup. Get some black eye makeup and know how to do your job.
Exactly. Come on. Or at least go to like the Scotty school of stuff where you overestimate. Compton, I need 2 hours.
I'm giving her all she got.
Yeah, you got to give it. I'm giving her all she's got. At least 1 or 2 of them. So the shootout goes on, and Kate and Jack shoot up some propane tanks to cause an explosion. And another car pulls up, and it's the backup of the CIA, and they shoot some Russians and capture some.
And while all this gunfight's going on, while they're blowing up the Chinese tanker, the guy on the computer is like, I'm going to go check out the closed-circuit network of TV cameras in the neighborhood. Oh, look what's going on a half a mile away. There's a gunfight on these cameras. Really? Really? I'm going to take this time out of what's going on to go check the security cameras in the area?
And not just that, he has a close-up on it, and he goes, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, it's Jack
Bauer, not Bauer.
And come on, and like 5 minutes later, we see Chen on the phone with the big bad Russian bear there, and they're obviously in cahoots, and they've been talking. And what I don't understand is, if that's the case, why did they have to discover that there was this Russian gunfight going on in the street a couple of blocks away, instead of the Russian guy going, "We got Jack pinned down." You know, like, get out of there. Jack's on his way to you.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And especially, just to go on piggyback on your point, if they're in cahoots, shouldn't he already know that Jack Bauer's in the area? Because the Russian guy would say, we're in the negotiations with the president's yada yada to try to get Jack Bauer. It would be like, I mean, they know.
And he's given us the tracking number to his cell phone or whatever the hell it was that they were using to track him, and he's coming right to you, Chen.
Yeah, so wouldn't you think that they'd work together? And we'll talk about it when it happens, or we can talk about it now. The scene when the two of them are talking, that was what I was saying last week's episode, that that's almost like a Frank Drebin moment where they're like, oh, we need to be in that moment at the beginning of the second Police Squad movie where like all the bad guys like Noriega, Saddam Hussein, they're all hanging out in one room talking about how we need to stop the government. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Good call. Good call.
We need to think of a plan to stop Jack Bauer. You know, they're kind of having that, like, they're twisting their mustaches, and especially the Russian guy. He's literally twisting his mustache. You see that guy? That guy's got the best mustache on TV right now. That thing's like, Tom Selleck looks at that mustache and goes, "Damn!" I mean, that's one of those mustaches.
No, the guy from Park and Rec still has the best mustache on television right now.
And I'm sure some of the guys, oh no, they're more, I was going to say Sons of Anarchy guys, but those are more beards than, yeah, if Bobby Munson shaved the beard and just had a big mustache, he'd rank up there too. So the shootout goes, Jack tells the TAC team that they were ambushed and to get them more ammo. And he tells them that the override is nearby and that they can track them. Kate wants to figure out who the hell the Russians are and gets the CIA to work on figuring out that information. Jack heads to where the signal is and says the device is gone, and they go into the lab. He kicks open the door, and we see all the dead open cell people and Adrian Cross. And Jack's like, "Shit, I wanted to kill Adrian Cross. No fair." And he finds that the tracker's left on the desk. And this is Kate comes in, and they're almost drawn down. And I kind of skipped over this part, but when Chloe's escaping, she like sees her phone on the ground, and she like fake falls and grabs the phone.
Oh, and she records Chen's voice and then sends it to Jack Bauer, or leave the phone on the ground.
She leaves the phone on the ground because Chen sees her do it. Chen's underling just kind of lets her get away with it because he didn't see it. Her little trick worked, but Chen saw through it and goes, "Chloe, you can't do this," and throws the phone down. But
right.
She was pretty damn quick. She must.
Wasn't it cool how she got the voice recording app open so quickly without looking as she like got up off the ground? She like fell on the floor, picked it up, took 2 steps, and without ever having looked at the phone or knew if the phone was even on or what type of phone it was or where to find the goddamn app that unless it was her phone and she just had it set up for a one-touch voice recording.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it was probably...
Who the fuck has a one-touch voice recording on their phone? Are you kidding me? Over video, over camera, over internet, over anything. I need to make sure I have a voice recorder button on my... Please. Nobody uses the fucking voice recorder. Nobody.
I think these 12 episodes of 20... I am glad next week's the last week. I think
it's 1996, for Christ's sakes, and like secret magical cell phone got beamed back where she's like, "I don't know that there's a camera on this yet, but I know there's a recording device for my voice."
And of course, later on, Kate looks around and she sees the phone when they get in there, and she sees it on the ground, and she picks it up and they play the recording, and Jack hears the voice, and he tells her, "Play it again," and he's in shock because he says he'll never forget that voice and that he needs to talk to the president. Which
begs the question: why did he need it played again?
because you with something like that, if you're sure of the voice, you need to make sure. You need to double check on something like that. Which is interesting because the president, like when the president's talking to the Chinese president later on, he's like, yeah, I have on completely reliable sources. Someone listened to a phone recording left in a room. I mean, like, you don't know that. I mean, we know because the audience knows that Chen's really alive. But if you look at it from the president's standpoint, he's putting a lot of faith in Jack Bauer.
Right? How do you know that's not a recording from like 10 years ago?
Exactly. That's somebody, whoever the real villain is, set up because they knew Jack was there and knew it would send Jack into a tizzy or something. You know, I mean,
he's talking about some prostitute he had named Chloe. You know.
Who knows? I mean, who knows? So he tells, or unless they, I've learned enough from television, again, 1980s television, to know that there were sound designers that could use cassette tapes and combine sounds to make people sound like they could say things. We learned that from Tango and Cash. So it's safe to say that now in 2010, 20, whenever this season of 24 is, that you could still do that kind of technology and put a fake recording onto a phone. So and set it up to make a dead guy that you had some audio recordings of. So all I'm saying is the president's kind of going with a lot of, and Jack's going with a big, oh, he's alive. I mean, the audience knows he's alive, but it's a pretty big reach that they're like,
Jack is in the zone today and has saved the president's life and stopped the terrorist attacks and killed Margot. So, yeah, I guess he's earned a little bit of trust, but still, that is a lot to go on.
So he calls Heller and tells Heller that Chen's alive and that he's got the device, and he says he's 100% sure, 100%. And he says Chang was killed dead from prison, and Jack says, nope, they're wrong, he's alive, and says that he promises that it's him. Heller tells him about the U.S. sub being sunk in the Chinese ship. Jack says Chang is working with someone and that wants to start a war. Jack tells him about the Russians attacking him. And Mark, right when Jack's telling about the Russians attacking him, well, you see Mark Bordeaux's face like just drop, like he knows.
Oh no, he didn't get my message.
Yeah, and yeah, no, he didn't get my message, and my day is about to go to shit. There's no way this. Before he probably had some delusions that he was gonna get away with all this. At this point, he's like, oh shit, I'm so fucked right now. Jack Bauer's gonna be fucking my wife by the end of the day, and I'm gonna be in jail. That's what's gonna happen. And pretty much, yeah. And he tells him that Chang has the device. Oh, yeah. And anyways, so Audrey listens, and she's stressed out. She says, oh, my God, Chen's alive. And she gets that deer in the headlights look, because last time she saw this guy, she was catatonic. I mean, he made her catatonic.
Basically, everybody in the room has a oh moment. Everybody in that room is scared. And then we find out, what's the next scene? Patrick tells Jack that it's Bauer. I mean, Patrick tells Bauer that it was Bordeaux.
Bordeaux, I think, yeah. That we get into that pretty soon. Mark goes to Audrey, and she insists that everything's all right. Ritter works with Gavin and says that they need to figure out where Chang is. He says he still needs more time. This is where we get out.
And then we have the car drive and the phone call between lovers.
Yep. And Ritter, Ritter tells him that they found the tablet in the Russian vehicle and that it had, this is what Joe was talking about, that had Jack Bauer's scrambler code. They tell him that Mark Bordeaux requested the scrambler code from his comlink. So it was Mark Bordeaux. So basically Jack has indisputable evidence from the CIA that Bordeaux is the one that sent the Russians at him. And
right.
Jack
only two people had the passcodes, that office and the White House.
Yeah, and
he puts it together. He's like, no, it couldn't have been Benjamin Bratt that sent him that last night or earlier today, but it had to be Bordeaux from the White House.
Yeah, but he figures it out because it's Jack's day. Jack's every time Jack.
He's in the zone.
Yeah, every time Jack has 11 and he's doubling down, he's getting that 10. I mean, every time, every fucking time. What an asshole! And he's hitting that river card and he's hitting that gut shot straight flush draw. Like Jack's hitting everything today.
Put it all on 00.
Oh, bam! Take it all, Jack Bauer. Take it all. Jack curses him, and he says as it's 9/11. Jack goes, "That motherfucker," and Chang calls the Russian deputy minister, and here's where we have our little Naked Gun moment, where neither knows where Jack Bauer is. Turns out they're working together. Mahaha. He tells Chang to get out of the country with his device. Kate says that Chang made it outside the CCTV network before the cameras came up. He asks why Chang is trying to start a war, and he thinks that the Russians got... And this is where Jack kind of gives her the little lowdown of 24 world issues that's going on. A few years ago, there's some strange shit happened, and there was a change in government of the Russian and Chinese, blah, 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 and that put Chang against his government. He got sent to prison for yada, yada, yada. So, and Kate says it's a dangerous game, and Jack says it's an off-book intelligence op that will give Russia more room to expand their reach. Kate asks why Mark is helping them, and Jack says he'll find out soon enough. Now Mark tells Audrey she should leave and let everybody else do their job. In retrospect, Audrey probably should have listened to him. And this is where Heller finally gets a call from the Chinese president, or a video call. Heller seems to be an expert on Skype. He doesn't have any of the technical issues we had today. Heller is on video conference, like, bam, easy with the Chinese president. And they have a little podcast about what happened. And they recap the events. And he said, President Heller has an attitude, a real relaxed attitude. He subscribes to the Tony Soprano thing of don't apologize, never apologize if you didn't do something wrong, because apologies admit guilt. And he's just like, this wasn't authorized by our government. No, this is an unfortunate event that happened. We're in full support. It was Chang that issued the order. The president says, no, Chang's dead. He goes, no, we assure you I have indisputable evidence. Jack, one guy's word from a recording on a cell phone, that Chang is alive. And
yep.
Heller says if they can produce Chang in the device, would that satisfy him? And the president basically says no, that wouldn't satisfy him. Something got blown up, and I'm going to have people in my country that are going to demand a response to this. They're not going to care who's responsible. They're not going to listen.
No, he also says my country has indisputable evidence that he died while he was in prison. So, no, that doesn't... We don't care about that. We don't care what your evidence is. We have evidence to say that he's already dead.
Yeah, and I think that's the case. It's one of those things that it's almost a bluff situation where the president of China is like, there's no way this guy's alive, but if you can show him to me, then I'm sure peace will happen. And we find that out later, ultimately, through the Audrey situation, that if this all did come to a head and they found out the truth, that China, probably would call off the war. So Heller tells Mark to go into crisis management mode. And Audrey says she has a contact in the Chinese embassy, some girl that she says her dad is some high up in the Chinese government, and she can give her evidence to prove that the system was hacked and everything that happened earlier in the day with El Harazi, and can prove, just kind of maybe stall some time to give them time to capture Chen. And it's kind of a good plan, and Heller thinks, oh, cool, that's a good idea. Why don't you do that, Audrey? It gets Audrey out of Dodge City here. And right at this point in time, we also find out that Heller is told that Chinese ships and 6 planes are on the move. Heller's like, where are they moving to? And no one knows yet. It seems like the Chinese are on the offensive. Almost immediately after the conversation, it's the Chinese were going to try to do something.
God, it's stuffy in here.
So at 9:27, Jack calls the White House switchboard and asks for Audrey. He gets the call while heading to the embassy, and she tells Chang that, and she tells Jack. This is where we get the lovebirds conversation that that Joe was talking about. She tells him to, "I love you, Jack." She doesn't say "I love you," but Jack.
They say it. They didn't need to say it. They said it. And even Chicky next to him is like, oh my God, did he just tell the president's daughter that he loves her? That he did all this for her?
Yeah, and she says she could never hate him, no matter what he did.
Yeah.
And Jack.
And who knows how loud the speaker is on that phone? She could be hearing everything that president's daughter's saying too.
You think Kate Morgan's a little disappointed? You think she thought she was gonna get a little Bauer?
No, I don't think she necessarily thought that. She's still reeling from her husband, dealing with all that crap.
Yeah. He tells her that he doesn't want to hate him for what he does. She says she could never hate him. And he kind of is giving her the heads up without giving her the heads up about what's about to happen with Bordeaux. So she tells him what to do and what has to be done, and he says he hears her, and he is going to kill her. I am going to kill you. and he says what they're targeting. They're heading to the U.S. base at the Okinawa. The colonel says they have to prepare for response in force. This is where we get the government trying to be like, listen, we got to get our nuclear stuff all set up. The Chinese, we got a 10-to-1 nuclear ratio on them. So let's get this set up, and we'll kick these bastards' ass. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. So right at that point, Jack shows up and says he needs to talk to the president and Mark in private. They head behind a closed door, and immediately Jack pulls out a gun and puts it right to Bordeaux's head and is like, "Why were the Russians tracking me? What are you doing? What's going on with my comlink? What the hell happened?"
Oh yeah, it was immediate, and as soon as they walked in the room, the door shut behind him. He had the gun out at his head.
And I thought Heller's reaction was amazing too. Heller's like, "Jack, calm down," but he's not really stopping him. He's like, "Jack, what's this all about?"
Yeah, all casual, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just this, yeah.
Whatever.
Chief of staff.
He's like, "Dude, Jack, chill out, dude. What's going on, man? Smoke
My
this."
son-in-law, you just put a gun to my son-in-law's head in my office.
Basically, Bordeaux straight out admits it at this point. He knows he's up against it. Jack spells out everything that happened, that he was working with the Russians to set him up. And Mark says he's sorry, and Heller goes, "What? You're working with the Russians?"
Yeah, no, Bordeaux comes clean. He comes clean. He tells him everything. He goes, "I did it basically before we knew Jack was a good guy. I did it to protect his office." He tries to put it on the president at first. He tries to put it on the job, like, "I'm here to protect you, president. I'm here to keep your hands clean." And that argument is bullshit because he put the fucking president's signature on the piece of paper. That doesn't keep the president clean. That puts the president right in the shit.
I also think it's a little bit of bullshit that, he originally did that for the reasons you said and being honest about that, but he wasn't honest about why he gave the Russians the code later. He
wasn't.
Because he was a jealous asshole, and he, fit of rage he did it. Because ultimately he probably would have just called the Russian on his bluff, never given them Bauer, and dealt with the president putting him up for treason after the fact. I think he would have eventually...
He should have just walked, right after he got that threat from the Russian, he should have walked into the president's office and said, "Listen, before this happened, I figured it was no big deal. I put your signature down to extradite this guy."
But no, he became a jealous little bitch, and so he didn't completely come clean, but he basically eventually just came clean that he was saying, and this all leads up to the president basically saying, but he starts rationalizing what he was going to do it, and then Bauer sort of if you watched How I Met Your Mother, lawyers him. You just go he's like, "I did it because of this reason," and Bauer just goes, "You idiot! You don't realize you just gave the Russians a foothold into blah 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 blah, and the Russians and the Chinese are working together." And he just totally.
Who do you think benefits the most if we go to war with China, you moron? How did you become a national the chief of staff if even that fact escapes you?
And we're not even making that. He calls him a moron or an idiot, or I forget exactly what. I think it's an idiot. He goes, "You idiot," and because he realizes that Bordeaux is just weak and kind of just did act in what he thought was initially the president's best interest.
It just goes to show you how nepotism really plays a role in everything. And it's so ingrained in Hollywood that they're like, it happens with the presidency too.
Daddy, I really love this guy. Will you make him your chief of staff? He's really competent. He was this guy Jimmy Cooper. He changed his name and he totally sold out all of his friends in Newport. Bordeaux also plays. I know you don't give a shit about the OC, but Bordeaux plays on the television show The OC. This guy Jimmy Cooper that basically was a smart businessman that was controlling all the money in Newport, and he eventually just sells out all of his friends and everybody's money.
Yeah,
comes back.
That's irrelevant to me.
It is because he plays like that sort of scumbag character,
and everything.
The fishy sort of scumbag, whatever. So Mark
Since the beginning of his career.
Mark says it was his job to keep his hands clean, and Heller tells him not to be naive. He says that he had no idea that they were working. The Russians and the Chinese were working together. He says Jack says he was a covert intelligence operative, and said that Russia benefits if Russia goes to war with the U.S. You idiot. Heller says Mark is under arrest for treason, but Jack says that he can still use it. He says that he knows where...
Talk about jumping the gun a little bit right there, too. The president being like, "You're under arrest for treason." It's like, there's a lot going on right now. Maybe this is not the best time to make this guy think he's got nothing to lose.
I agree, but I think as you know, you've dealt with people in certain situations that are like this. When people lose everything, they start to be, or starting to lose things, they become very protective of the little things that they have. I think more than anything, more than working with the Russians, the fact that he forged the president's signature and kind of was, in a way, fucking with his mind there, because thinking that that's a credit to the Alzheimer's and knowing that, listen, I'm losing everything, and you're gonna fuck with me on this end too, and you're gonna forge my signature, and probably flash his mind. He's probably gonna try to convince me later that I signed this damn thing. You know, like,
Right.
it's just like I can see where the president's coming from, that he had an emotional reaction there, because this guy is his family. This guy is his son-in-law. It's his son. This guy's been protecting him. So, but I agree with you. He definitely jumped the gun. And Jack says he needs to set up a meet because he knows where this Russian guy lives. And Jack says they've got a plan in the way. And this is where we get back to our computer guy. Gavin's working on the schematics for Stolkovich's house. This is kind of weird. They have no idea what kind of security gate he has. So that they need Bordeaux. They need to come up with a plan to take a picture of the security system so we can figure out what kind of security system it is. So the
Right, they need to know what kind of security system it is, and he has to get right up close, and it's just written right on the label, so that any hacker, if they read it, any mailman or whatever, and why they couldn't have had like a sniper from like the tree line focus in with a nice high-power camera on the little label?
No, they thought the smartest idea was to put an inconspicuous American flag pin on Bordeaux's shirt as he's saying he wants to defect to the Russia. You know, it's like it's so obvious.
And I love it too. They're like, we need a shot of the camera, and he's like,
yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I laughed.
and the guy just looks at him like, huh? Like, really?
Yeah, too. Later on, too, it's almost like a Bionic Man moment, like do. It's like, we need a shot of the security guards. Okay.
You know, and he does it again on the inside. Yeah.
He does it again on the inside with the security guards. He totally does.
Yeah, it was very comedic. It was very, very comedic.
And I think intentionally so, to kind of exaggerate what was happening.
Yeah,
So,
you're okay, Bordeaux. Yeah, you're uncomfortable. You're not a CIA operative. You're the chief of staff. This is all foreign to you. You don't know, so act like that. Okay.
Okay. Mark asks what happens when bullets start flying, and Jack says to try to stay low. He says that anything...
Don't get shot.
Try not to get shot, asshole. I love how Jack... he just doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, just stay down. And he can do anything to slow down from getting to a secure area will help him. Mark says he thought he was doing the best thing for Heller and his country, and Jack confirms that I just don't want to give a fuck what you have to say. Chang, and we get back to Chang and his little tech guy, and he's working to get them onto a ship. Chang says to let Chloe try because you're an idiot, and Chloe actually has skills at this. Now Chloe takes the opportunity to jump out of the truck and kind of roll down a hill, and she rolls out of the truck and kind of like heads towards falls and hits her head, but she rolls down, and the truck stops and they start to head after her. But right as they're heading...
Okay, I gotta stop you right here because I saw this scene last night, and I was thinking when all these guys jumped out of the truck to go chase after Chloe, now this is going to sound a lot worse coming from me than I really mean it to be, or than I don't mean anything by this. So I gotta give myself that little out here. But when those
before you talk,
ran after her,
for you to do this, it must be something really bad. For you...
Well, I just thought they all looked super, like the director told them to look more Chinese as they were running. Like, stereotypical Chinese. Like, they all had, like, this hunch, like, tiptoe, arms hooked, like, run. Like I was watching a 1950s cartoon, Chinese guy running.
Yo, I don't disagree with you. I'll even go as far to say when they had Chen talking, every scene that they have Chen talking, they tell him to emphasize being Asian. Where he's like, Jacques Bawa? You know, like, look, They're like, could you watch Big Trouble in Little and listen to how Lopan says, we need you to do a little bit more like that. Jack Button.
Like they were all like
Yeah, no, I hear you, dude.
running to and from the truck. It was just so awful.
But that's 24 is like so stereotypical.
Yeah, you almost expected to hear like ding 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 as they were running to and from the truck. And I know this sounds awful, and that's kind of really racist that shit went through my head, but that's what I got from that scene. Like, they were like, we can't... I bet you half those guys, because it was so dark you couldn't see any of them, I bet you they were all white guys anyway, so it probably made it even more fucking racist. But,
you know what, Joe? I don't think it's racist that we're talking about it. I think it would be racist if we thought that was normal. If we didn't... If we were like,
right,
oh, yeah. Those are Chinese guys. That's how Chinese guys move, isn't it? You know? The fact that we're talking about
what's the guy's name?
All I can think of is Hanna-Barbera.
No, not Hanna-Barbera.
I know who you're talking about. Hong Fooey.
Yeah, there's a certain guy who used to do all these super racist, misogynist cartoons.
Still, the most racist thing ever in a movie or in television ever is the two Short Circuit movies. To Indian.
Was what?
The two Short Circuit movies are the two most racist things ever on television or in films ever.
Yeah, with what's his name as the Indian guy?
That is the most racist.
It's the blackface, essentially. I forget what that guy's name is, but he's pretty good. I've seen him in a lot. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Awesome. I love the actor, but it's one of the most racist things. It's like it's this side of Hapu from The Simpsons. You know, it's this side of a Hank Azaria character.
Yeah. It's exactly what it was, you know.
So they tell right as Chang and all his guys are chasing after Chloe. They tell a truck pulls up of some angry British soldiers that don't seem to mind that there's an army of Chinese guys patrolling the area. He just wants them to move the truck. So they tell them to move the truck, and they roll off. So we go back to Heller, and Heller now, I found this scene really sad and really, like a really good scene by Heller, because the actor, because he played it very much like he's suddenly all alone. And even though Bordeaux did some horrible stuff, he was someone that protected him, and especially as he's losing his mind a little bit, Bordeaux like kind of had his back. Or Audrey's there, and Audrey's out on a mission as well. So he's kind of all alone with all the military guys, and kind of dealing with stress. Drank an hour ago and probably shouldn't have drank on his pills, so his head's a little weird, a little extra weird right now. So Heller drops his bottle of pills and kills them as all the military guys look concerned. 2 missiles are launched by the Chinese as all the screens go out and they have no vision. The missiles took out 2 of the surveillance satellites. They tell Heller that they need to move to a more secure plan, and they need to move to DEFCON.
Put in the last outlaw in Texas.
I think it is awesome that we still use DEFCON, because anyone that's seen War Games understands this concept. I mean, they set the standard with War Games, and you show War Games to kids even these days. Kids watch War Games. So it's like you set the thing of the DEFCON thing, so we all know what it means when they say we got to go to DEFCON, whatever. So the president, after a moment of standing there and looking really upset, agrees, and he says to raise the DEFCON level. So we're at 9:48 at this point.
Tex Avery.
Oh yeah, Tex Avery. That's the guy's name. Sorry.
Tex Avery. And Mark is ready to knock on the Russian guy's front door, and they pull up, and Gavin and Ritter are there, and they're ready to go, and they tell Mark good luck as he goes and he tries to get the plan. He goes right up to the door, knocks on the door, or rings the bell or whatever in the fence. The security guy comes up, and he's like, "What do you want?" This is Mark Bordeaux. I want to talk to the Russian guy with the mustache. Okay, no, we'll ask him. He gets on the phone, and the guy's like, "No, send that guy away. I don't want to talk."
Yeah, send him away. Get him out of here.
He goes, no, give me the phone. I'll talk to him on the phone, because that's all we've ever done. And Mark basically says to him that he forged the documents. Heller found out. He needs to stay there for asylum, and he wants to defect to Russia.
He wants to pull a Snowden. He wants to go to Russia.
Yeah. He wants to pull a Lee Harvey Oswald or something to denounce his his American citizenship and go over to become a Russian
And he's going to convince him I have all these national secrets. You don't want to turn me away. I have valuable information. I'm the chief of staff of the White House. All the security briefings I've sat in. I have a plethora of information in my head to share with you guys. I just need amnesty. I don't want to go to prison.
He says, go to the embassy. And he goes, no, the embassy's being watched. He goes, listen, you bring me home, Russian dude, you'll be a hero in Moscow. And you got to think that somewhere in the line, Mark's starting to make a little bit of sense at the Howard Stern. Suddenly, he starts making a lot of sense. And
he made sense right from the beginning. The guy should have let him in. He should have realized that he has this guy over a barrel. He's already threatening him with leaking the treasonous act that he did. So he should just let him in and be like, okay, we're going to put you on a plane with Chen and get you out of the country. You know?
He tells the guard to search him, and he does, and doesn't find anything. The metal detector doesn't pick up the pin on his chest, the camera, or this amazing new technology earpiece that you can wear in your ear, like a universal translator from Star Trek that they have now. Like is that a thing? Do those things really exist? The two-way headset radio?
Yeah, no, I'm sure you can see a miracle ear in somebody's fucking ear. I mean, how far does that thing have to go in? And if it goes in that far, how hard is it to get out?
Exactly. Is it an implant? Is it like a Quaid thing where you need a magnet to get that? But if it's a magnet, it would show up on the metal. Like, how do you? I don't know. I'm confused by this technology. But again, we're in the future.
Maybe it only shows up and there's enough metal where it could be your fillings.
Very true. Very true. So Mark moves closer to the security panel, and he does, as we said, the stare at it thing as he's walking in, the chest bump. And Gavin pulls out the specs, and he goes, "Oh, an old 47-32-2029." I didn't write down what it was called, but it's like, it was like one of those stupid things, like a lock picker from a heist movie, being like, an old standard 3-prong. Who wants it? I know how to handle that one.
Yeah, and don't you figure that someplace like this that's conducting all this espionage and Russian secret crap, don't you think they would have signal jammers all over this house?
Absolutely. Especially
so that there couldn't be any kind of transmissions or anything?
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, especially wouldn't you want to hire a group like someone like Adrian Cross to set you up with the security systems?
Not ADT. We're home even when you're not. Oh, that's ADT. I got this. I can't shut it down, but I can jam it.
I know they jam it. Oh, we're jamming I know we can't shut it down. And that made me think of I almost wanted the Russian guy to go, "Look, someone's jamming me, and only one man dare gives me the raspberry. No one."
He's jamming me.
We're being jammed, because the way he said it was we're being jammed, sir. We're jammed.
And he immediately knows he's being set up too. Once they get jammed, gunfire starts.
Yeah, and they get into like a fight. I got to give Mark Bordeaux credit here. He wrestles this guy. Bordeaux's no pussy. He gets.
Well, no, it's he knows this is his only chance. This is his only chance to get out alive, is to fight for his life at this point. He's about to get shot. There's nothing he can do. It's either fight or die.
But wouldn't you? But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the moment. I don't know if in that situation, in the fight or die moment, if I pussy out and run and cry and say, "No, no, no, please, no," or I charge the person.
You know what? Running is still fighting. In a lot of ways, running is still fighting, because if you just stand there, you're dead. If you fight the guy, you fight the guy. If you run, you garner a chance to fight the guy.
I think
or to get away, to live. It's still fighting. That's fighting to live.
I think my thing is I throw something heavy and then I run. Find a rock of some sorts to throw and run. Get the fuck out of there.
But you got to realize too that outside that door might not be any better. You hear all the gunfire going on out there too.
So Bordeaux, I think from all the slimy shit we say about Bordeaux and thought about him in the season so far, I think he held his own in this fight with a very big Russian guy with a very hairy mustache. And
and this guy's trained to kill. Right. This guy isn't just a politician. They said what, like Russian circus bear or something.
Whatever. Yeah, he worked for the Sorry, yours was way better than mine. Circus bear. the next Russian circus bear. So in the fight, a shard of glass gets poked into his neck, and I kind of thought someone was going to get shot here, but no, glass gets stuck in his neck, and blood gushes everywhere. Jack runs in and says, "Get a towel," and goes, "You son of a bitch, stay alive." Jack screams.
Yeah, I love the guy just pulls it right out of his neck. He's like, "Uh-oh, there's something in my neck." And, like, Bordeaux's not like, "Don't pull it out!" Like, he just watches them do it.
Watch him do it dumbfounded, like.
And the guy's like, "Oh, fuck, what did I just do?" You see him, like, he didn't realize he was doing that.
And I think in some ways you got to think about too, like if that happened to you, my first instinct probably I'd have to fight the instinct to pull it out. You know, like my first instinct would be to pull it out. I would, you know,
well, either way, that's a death wound because if you don't pull it out, that's blocking the blood from getting into your head, and you're going to pass out in a few seconds anyway, like getting choked out.
And if you do manage to survive, you're having serious brain damage at that point too. And so he dies before. The only person that survived something like that was in the television show Prison Break, when someone got cut in the throat and somehow they ended up surviving. But they sewed it back on, and he didn't have brain damage. So Jack screams at him to tell him where Chang is, but the Russian guy wants to say one last fuck you to Jack Bauer. He says, "No matter what you do, when you cut my head off, another mustache will grow where it was left. And Russia will never stop till you're dead, Jack Bauer." So,
right. Well, we'll never forget what you did to our country. And I didn't realize I was like, what did he do? What did we? And I thought they meant like what your country did to our country. And I'm like, what the hell did America ever do to Russia? Because I didn't watch the last 8 seasons, so I didn't realize he was talking about Jack Bauer killing all those people.
If you're bored, I'm surprised I haven't suggested this to you earlier. I don't suggest this usually, but with 24, you probably could. If you're curious at all of like backstory, any of this stuff, just read Wikipedia. Just read the 24 Wikipedia of the season summaries, and you can get a gist of what happened in these situations and what.
Yeah, with one episode left, I'm not sure I'm going to go that far.
Yeah, you're never watching 24 again after next week.
No, so, pretty much I'm not.
So Jack screams them, and right here at the end here we get Audrey meeting with the girl, and she does her best, and she convinces this girl to take the evidence, and that if they can produce Chang, that she can not say anything on the record, but can almost promise that the president will call off the war. And she tells him, and they hug, and they're getting ready to walk away.
And then this is where I'm like, oh my God, Katie, this is so goddamn cliche. The women are going to work it out in the back channels, and there's going to be peace, and nobody's going to die, and it's not going to be worked out through war. Oh, look at the... Yep.
Bad. Oh, wait, and then suddenly Joe's goes down to, maybe, whoa, where's this going? And get the quick backstory if you haven't, as I mentioned because I said it last time, not this time. Audrey has been tortured by this guy for almost 2 years, I think it was a year or two, of being tortured by this guy to the point where she was an invalid, where she could do nothing, and she needed, with years and years of psychoanalysis and medication probably, just to get to the point where she is now. So
right, so it's a good thing she worked so closely with her father, who's the president of the United States. That's a good thing.
It's a good thing she got back to her pressure lifestyle, right? And it's a good thing he sent her out on a mission alone with some Secret Service guys. So the girl's shot, and then the Secret Service people are also shot as well, and she's there alone. She looks around, think about who could have done this. And I got to admit, at first, I was thinking, how would Chan know where she was? Like, it didn't occur to me that it was him at first, because I'm like, how would he have known where she was?
Yeah, no, I didn't think so either. I was kind of confused at who was doing this. I was like, oh, great, now she's going to get kidnapped by someone else?
Right,
Is that going to be our lead into next season?
Exactly. I thought it was someone I thought maybe it was another 24 character that we haven't seen yet that's coming back and doing it, like heard that Jack is somewhere and is getting revenge or something. It didn't connect. And then the phone call, and it's Chang, who tells her to sit down.
And when you find out it's Chang after that phone call, and he tells her to just sit back down, my associates got you trained, and we're going to kill you if you move, weren't you like, with one episode left, isn't that like you already have like the whipped cream, the strawberries, the cherry, the sprinkles, the nuts, the pineapple pieces, the marshmallow topping, the hot fudge topping, and you're like, oh, I think I should put some pepperoni on here too or something. Like, there's not enough already on there.
I think, in the sense, yeah, I think you're describing 24 to a T, actually, of what 24 does. Because I think 24 sees it more as, if we're bringing Chang back, we are doing a disservice to the fans of 24 not to have him and Audrey have some sort of interaction of some sort. And
now Jack's going to go off to save the day again on that, as well as like get the device, kill Chang, get the sniper.
Our rewarding kill of Chang and possibly Audrey dying next week too. Audrey
dying.
That'll
be fine. Audrey dies, the president. If everybody dies and Jack Bauer becomes president, that'd be nice.
Or someone else said Kate Morgan becomes president. She seems more like a president.
There you go.
Kate Morgan. Bauer's not no one's president. So that's basically the end of the episode, that he tells her to sit there. And I also might think, if I was Audrey in that situation, maybe not because this guy's tortured me, so he has something on me. My first thought would have been, run. Because if he really wanted you dead, he would have shot you already.
Right.
You know, like he would have shot you when you shot everybody. Otherwise, it's an empty threat. He must need me alive for some reason.
Well, he just wants to know that he still has her programmed and still under her thumb and still torture her.
What I'm guessing is because they lost Chloe, he needs another incentive for the Jack Bauer situation. Like, initially, the reason why Chloe was important to them to keep was so...
And finding her was much easier than finding Chloe, who was, 20 yards down a hill.
That you could just wait for the military trucks to go or circle around and flank and come back and go in there. But whatever. So let's get to a couple. Who dies next week, Joe? Any deaths? Any big character deaths? Does Jack?
I'm hoping.
Let's simplify this. I'm going to ask you some simple questions. Does Jack Bauer die?
If I want my spin-off, then yes, Jack Bauer dies and hands the keys of the kingdom over to Blondie chick.
But is your instinct of watching this? Do you think Jack Bauer dies at the end of this?
Yes, my instinct is Jack Bauer's finally dead.
Okay, interesting.
And it's going to be a Chloe Blondie spin-off.
Interesting. Okay, so you think Kate and Blondie survive. You think Ritter probably survives. You think the president dies? Does the president have some sort of attack that kills him? Does he have a stroke?
The previews led me to believe that something awful is going to happen with the president, but no, I'm going to say he doesn't, because they led us to believe that something awful happens with the president. They didn't show us anything bad happening to Jack, so Jack's going to die. They showed us awful stuff happening to the president, and we already had the president oh no, the president's dead moment earlier this year.
Very true.
We're going to repeat that. When you start repeating the same tricks too often and too close to each other, which is a big problem I had with the following season 1, they used the same tricks episode after episode, and it was horrible to watch. And it was teeth-grindingly bad, but I sat through that whole season. And if they do that in this, it's just bad TV. It's bad writing.
I don't think they'll do that. I think
lazy is what it is. That's right.
You're going to see a lot of Jack Bauer killing a lot of people next week. I think you're going to see Jack Bauer killing Chen. You're going to see Jack Bauer killing a lot of Chinese guys. You're going to see Jack Bauer possibly dying, or in some huge heroic way.
I think when we had that awful moment, morally, kind of in a human sense, where he threw Margot out the window in just a very cold-blooded, no, good, that's the only one I'm going to have to worry about, and chucked her out the window, that maybe we do get Jack Bauer dying because of that. And if you remember at the beginning of the season, there's not much killing. It's all good guys. He's just knocking them all out and subduing them. And then slowly over this season, I mean, he's dealing with much more bad guys and no more good guys. He's killing everybody now, all over again. He's just murdering left and right.
And the most important,
guys, but still.
The most important last question: will we get more than 2 minutes of Belichick? Will Belichick be in more of the episode?
Yeah, where did he disappear to? Like, he dropped the president off and poof, gone.
Yeah, he's not there with Jack and Kate on their super amazing, greatest team ever.
Or trying to go meet up with them, or trying to go find Chloe. Like, there's no orders for Belichick at this point. It's just, okay, thanks for your help. Chill with the president. Bye.
Yeah, where's Belichick right now is what I want to know.
Oh, yeah, so it's interesting. There's a general at one point. So the Chinese, we forget, we blew up that tanker. We didn't even really talk about this. And the Chinese, they're threatening. Yeah, well, a little bit. They're threatening attack and everything. And the general tells the president, or he's a colonel actually, he's in a show called Strike Back. He's really good. He plays a British agent. He's actually British. His English accent, American accent, is really good in this program. And it was kind of surprising that he was playing an American while they were in England to begin with. He could have been like an English guy from Stephen Fry's camp or whatever. But anyway, I digress. They're like, raised to DEFCON 3. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And there's a bunch of planes and ships. They, like, a few minutes later, China mobilizes. And America does no clue where the Chinese fleet is going or what they're about to attack. But he refuses to raise the level until finally the satellites go down and the president says, okay, raise the level to DEFCON 3. I'm sorry, but he put far too much faith. I mean, China only has one aircraft carrier. One, that's it. And it cost them billions to make. Sinking that is absolutely going to cause war. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind that the Chinese aren't going to be like, we're retaliating, period. That's their only frickin' aircraft carrier. That's their whole might in the Chinese Sea. Right, yeah, like, oh no, finger slipped on the button, sorry guys, wasn't us. They're not going to take that as an excuse. And even if they do produce evidence, this is just the excuse China needs to do exactly what that general said and take over Japan, take Taiwan, take the entire China Sea area in, South Korea, and all of it, like they've been trying to do and wanting to do this whole time.
Yeah,
That being said, the Chinese also know that there's been drone strikes all over frickin' London all day long, and how could they not know that something was really awful was going on with the American military? So to not believe the president when he calls you afterwards and says, some fucked up shit's going on. Yeah, America's starting a war with China, starting a war with England, because that's what America does on a Sunday. While the president's in England, they're going to start a war with England and with China.
Because that's what Heller does. Because that's historically Heller's game. He likes war. I couldn't agree with you more in this sense that's why I think it is a little bit of posturing. They probably just, as response, they shot out the communication satellites, but they never were going to engage too much. It'll be interesting to see where this goes and how this is stopped. Because I don't think that's one thing I don't think is going to happen at the end of the season. I don't think the season's going to end with United States and China at war. I think it's going to end with a peace of some sort, realizing what's going on and Chen being brought to justice or dead body being presented to the Chinese government.
Okay, now I got something for you. Imagine, Phil, it's 2 o'clock. What time is it in the program right now there?
It's 10 p.m.
10 p.m. So it's 10 p.m. and your dog starts scratching at the door, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, Lotus, I'm going to take you out for a walk and let you go to the bathroom. So you walk a quarter mile down the street to that nice little park by your house, and you see this blonde chick sitting on the bench quietly just staring off into the dark. And piled around her at her feet are half a dozen dead bodies, all shot to death. And she's just sitting there at 10 o'clock at night in London, not a quiet little suburbia town that you're in, but in London, sitting on the park bench, dead bodies, all shot in the head, sniped, spewing around this park.
Just another night in the city.
Are you sure I'm not in New York? Are you sure about that? Am I not in New York?
Yeah, that sounds more like New York, doesn't it?
New York in the
That's
80s.
not London. That's L.A.
That's LA. That's LA in the 90s or New York in the 80s. Anyways, this is a good place to cut off. Everybody, we will be back next week for one last 24 discussion. And then, as I said, it'll be a little bit of a hiatus as I figure out my moving situation. If you haven't had a chance to check out my update video, you can check it out right there. And everybody, we'll be back next week to talk about the 24 Live Another Day season finale. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier. It happens. So thank you, everybody. Been wonderful to talk to you. Please check everything out at issuesprogram.com. Please hit the subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.